Welcome everyone to this live stream of Kerbals Space Program. Now in the previous live stream, Ben Domerese at the end gave me another suggestion for my next live stream, which was to take 3 Kerbals to the Mun. So sounds like a good idea. I don't tend to go to the Mun very often. My favourite target is Minmus, not having even got as far as getting to many of the other planets. So let's go to the Mun. So first things first, we're going to have to build ourselves a few vessels. Now I thought it might be fun not just to go to the Mun, but also to do a bit of ore mining whilst we are there. So to do that, we first need to build ourselves a scanning satellite. So let's get cracking with a basic probe body. Next we will need the scanning there we go, the survey scanner, the M700 survey scanner, and it is rather a monster, as you can see. So it's going to be quite a substantial satellite once we get it cracking. So let's deploy the scanner just to see how massive this baby is. So we're going to need a fairly sturdy craft to go underneath it. So I think first we will have a little bit of battery. So let's find some batteries in my quick search window. I think these are the right size. We've got a battery there just to hold some charge, and below that we shall have ourselves some command and control and a small inline reaction wheel just to give us a little bit better control over the satellite when we need to reposition it. Now when it's around the Mun, we're not going to need very much fuel or thrust to move it around. So let's have a look at the tanks we have. We could go with this relatively small FLT 100, which actually, to be fair, is quite sizable for this craft, because we are only going to be giving it little nudges into its orbit, so that may well be enough. And to go with it, let us have ourselves our little spark engine. So that's kind of the basis of our little craft. Now I'm wondering whether we can make it a little bit neater. Whether we can make it, it's a bit sort of long and not very attractive as a result. So let's pop this off. And we're going to be making changes already. We shall place some little batteries maybe around the side. So let's have a look. Batteries. Let's go for the small batteries. For these little titchy little batteries, we could go for, what do you reckon, 4 of these little batteries? Like so. Get a few of those in there. That's looking okay. The other alternative is to squeeze them in here with a little bit of clipping. No, I'd rather go without the clipping, so let's put these on the side like so. And we'll need some solar panels. Now, because this is going to be permanently in space, we're not going to be retracting the panels, so we can go for these open panels. So let's try, what do we say? 4 of these spread around the outside edge. How's that looking? Yeah, that should do fine. These are going to extend, and we can't extend them while we're here. So those will extend out from the side. These they're going to be a little bit obscured by, yeah, these two will be a little bit obscured, so maybe we'll go with only 2. So let's go with only 2, because they will otherwise be obscured if this gets in the way. So we'll go with 2, but we'll do with our cannot do without photovoltaic panels on the other side. We'll have 2 of those, 1 on each side. So that's looking pretty neat. Yeah, that's looking okay. So we've got batteries. I'll tell you what to do, just for a little bit of role play. Let's go for the other antenna for local control. So we'll put one of these in here on the side. Like two, we'll just have the one. So that'll be for local control, local transmission for our 3 Kerbals to receive the data back. What else do we need? That's looking pretty good actually. Let's just retract the scanner itself and just check how we're doing. We've got no science instruments. We won't be looking to deploy any science instruments. This is purely a scanning satellite. So it's got loads of delta V in that tiny tank and in that little engine. So that should be plenty for us to do plane changes and any orbital changes that we want to do. Now, one of the things I do want to check is the scanner's ultimate desired altitude. It's about 25 kilometers. That's 25 kilometers is its minimum. So we're going to go way above that. We'll probably go to 200 kilometers, something along those lines, just so we have a pretty good scanning radius to scan with. Right. Okay, so that is a basic satellite. Now all we have to do is get it to our target. So let's go for a separator or decoupler. Where we go? We're going with the small one. Let's have this one, I think. There we go. No, I don't like a look at that one. So let's go for this teeny weeny one there, and then we'll use one of our adapters. We'll use one of the adapters. Where's our tiny little? There we go. This FLA5 adapter. I think that looks a little bit neater, because next we are going to put some of these T800 tanks on. Now what we can do is we can either use this as the entire delivery stage. So if we get our little, there we go, our little Terrier engine, and use that as our entire delivery stage, or we can go for a smaller delivery stage. So let's try perhaps with one of these tanks and then perhaps the Terrier engine. So let's have a look. Terrier engine on the bottom there, and have that as our delivery stage. Right, what next? Well, okay, so we're going to use this as a delivery. So that's got stage 2. Let's make sure we've got our stages the right way round. So this bottom stage there is going to be delivery. Right, okay, so let's go back to our decouplers. And if we go over here, we will use this one this time, the stack decoupler, and then use the T800s. So let's go for those. FL T800 fuel tank on the bottom there. And after that we shall try the Reliant engine, LVT30 Reliant. There we go. So that gives us 3,700. That's not quite enough. I usually go for around about 5,000. That's probably way overkill, but it should be enough. But let's have a double check of our cheat sheet, shall we? Now, according to the cheat sheet, we can get to the Mun with about 4,500. So there we go, about 5,000 should be good. So let's go and see how we can assemble the next stage. So if we go for my favourite decouplers, which are these larger TT70 radial decouplers, just helps a little bit with separating our engines. You might remember from our last live stream we had a little bit of a problem with that. So we will take a little more care this time. So again, go back to our fuel tanks, and again the FLT 800s. They're like so, and then we shall put on again our Reliant engines, and we will of course use our external fuel ducts to make sure we are draining from the outside in our asparagus staging. So let's clip those on in there. So now we have easily over 5,000 delta V, so that should be plenty to deliver our satellite with. So we just need to finish it off with a little bit of aerodynamics. So let's get nose cones on here, and of course we will need, where should we put it? We will put it here, like so. Now we are going to, now something just strikes me as a little bit of a problem. We need another probe core under here if we are, I can't remember which one of these is the large one. I think this one is the small one. There we go. Like so, because then we can discard this section or even return it back to Kerbin if we have any materials left that we want to recover. So we'll put another probe core on there, and then under here we shall put our fairing base. So we'll take, here we go, fairing base, snap that under there, there we go. Now that doesn't quite fit, so we're going to have to adjust the base and give it a little more size. Let's give it extra radius, there we go. Tiny bit of extra radius, a bit too much maybe? Too much? Yeah, probably. I'm just a little bit, this is procedural fairings, and it obviously doesn't take into account this very large antenna that we have here. So let's just have a look and see how that seems to fit with our favourite egg-shaped fairings. There we go, a bit bulbous. So I don't know that. I wonder if we can do better. Let's try the stock fairings. Let's try the stock fairings and see if they make a better fist of. Is it this one? No, that's the one I just tried. This is the side fairing. So where is? Oh, here we go, up here. So there we go, the protective shell. And let's see if we can make a better fist. There we go. Keep it going up till about, where do you reckon? About there. And then close it in. Where are we? Oh, just popping out there. There we go. Do you think actually the stock fairings work a little bit better in that case? They do actually, don't they? Yeah, they do actually work a little bit better. Okay, we'll take the stock fairings. Thank you very much. We will need a little bit of battery power on this lower stage if we're going to keep it. So let's just go and have a look at our batteries, and maybe some panels just to keep them fully charged. And we'll have 4. There we go. So if we are going to keep that stage, at least we've got a probe core and some battery. I don't think we need a reaction wheel, because there should be plenty of power for such a tiny stage there. Okay. Now I think we just need to get some space tape, some of our standard struts, which we'll find under construction there. So let's just get 2 of those and connect them across like so. And I think we have ourselves a survey a survey probe. So let's get a couple of these on that side there, and a couple on here. And I have just remembered one thing that we have indeed forgotten, and that is from the where are we? There we go, our scriptable control system. So let's just pop that in there, and increase the memory to 20k. There we go, so 20k. Right, what next? Next we have, we're a little bit short. We're a little bit short, but we only do just need to get there. I am wondering, however, because this will mean we are just a smidgen short. We're a smidgen short. Okay, let's see how we're going to do if we swap that out for the double-sized tank. Swapping the double-sized tank, we'll then have to check our thrust-to-weight ratio. There we go, 4.6. Did that just go down? Let's just double-check we've got our staging right. So that will pop in there. We've got our. We should have 3 engines in total in the bottom stage. Let's get that one in there. Then we will separate this one, and at that point we can separate the fairings. Wow, did that actually go down? Or did we go up just very, very slightly? Got plenty of thrust to weight ratio. What I don't want to do is turn up and find ourselves without sufficient delta V. Or we could just go. Why don't we just go and have some fun? This is, of course, Viruk and Jeb have fun with rockets, so let's go have some fun. I'm sure the weight of this fairing took that down quite considerably. But let's get our scanner probe and save that, and hope it doesn't fall to bits. So let us pop out onto. Have we got the right engines? That looks very, very tiny. Very, very tiny. But let's go try it. Let's go try it, shall we? So let's save that, and let's pop on out to the launch pad and get ourselves launched away. Right, well, we're going to be using KOS to do our ascent as usual because I'm lazy. So let's run the initialization program and then run the ascend 6A. I think it is 6A we're on now. And there we go. Now we have way too much thrust to weight ratio, so as soon as we clear the tower, my script will pull that in. It's going to pull it in way too far. Oh dear. Oh dear. I think we're going to have to go and do some maintenance. We're going to have to go and do some maintenance in the vehicle assembly building, and this is one of the problems of using scripts to do this sort of thing. The scripts are a little bit dumb. As much as scripting may seem like it's a clever thing to do, it can actually be quite dumb. And in this case, it was way, way, way too much thrust to weight ratio early on, and so it just didn't compensate quick enough. So what we're going to do is I'm going to reduce the thrust on these outer pair of engines and bring the initial thrust to weight ratio down to about 0.6. There we go, that should do. So let's save that. And what will happen then is as I clear the tower, as the script remains dormant, it will increase to give or take a thrust to weight ratio of 2, at which point the script will pick up. And the purpose of the script, if you didn't already know, was to keep the thrust to weight ratio at about 2 as it does the gravity turn. So if we are way off, either above or below our delta V above our thrust to weight ratio, then the script makes a pretty poor fist of things. So let's reinitialize. And then launch away. Now the other problem might be we don't have any fins or other controls on here. We're relying entirely on the SAS, and that may not be perfect, shall we say. here we go. We are controlling the thrust pretty well, but no. I think we were. I think I was right. I think we do need a little more control. Just a little more. He's having a good go, but I don't think he's going to make it. So, again, let's have a look at adding a little bit of control down at the base. Now, if we look at our centre of mass and our centre of lift, you can see how far apart they really are. Now, we've got two things we could do here. If I swap out the engine, we're going to lose even more of our delta V's. If I went for the swivel engine for some control, so it's gone down to 4.5, and that is really going to be cutting it fine. So what should we do? That went to 4.5. That went to 4.5. So if we put the Reliant back on, so we've got our Reliant back on, so we're back up to 4.6. And where did that go? That went down into the bottom stage there. We could try just some aerodynamic fins. These are the basic fins. Where are they? Where are the basic? Oh, there we go. I saw them in the middle of the first page. Just these basic fins here, and you see how that has brought the center of lift and, in this case, drag much closer to our center of mass. And we're still at 4.6, so that should still be okay. So should we try that? Let's try that. So let's go back out to the launch pad and repeat the launch. And here was me thinking I'd get the satellites to the Mun, I'd get 3 Kerbals to the Mun, I'd get them landed, and I'd get an oil tanker to them as well. Well, we've always got plenty of material for another live stream. So let's just run an it again. And see if we have better luck this time. So we can see our thrust to weight ratio is 1.7, just going through 1.7. We can see that displayed here as well. There's our target thrust to weight ratio of 2. So as we start to control our gravity turn, we're over just very slightly, 5 degrees over. Is that going to be enough, or is that... Nope, it's just too heavy. Wow, this is just too heavy. So we're going to have to do something a little more drastic. So let's revert back to the vehicle assembly and try... What should we try? We could try additional SAS. We could try that because we're only relying on that which is in the various probe cores. So let's try that, shall we? Give it a bit more muscle to its SAS. So let's save that and try a 4th launch. Or is it 5? Oh dear me. Right, let's try again. Let's get our KOS scripts running. And it seems to be when we get a little over, well, 10 degrees over, or 80 degrees above the horizon, the weight of the fairing shell here at the top really seems to pull the nose down. Now we do have 2 other options, one of which is to shorten the craft, make it a little more stubby. That's one thing we can try. And also we can try some active fins. So here we go, let's see how it's going to do. So the SAS seems to be holding it up. The calculator is taking it back again. Jeez. What else can we try? I wonder if we try moving the shell further down to reduce the weight. Let's try, let's try that. So let's revert back to the vehicle assembly. Another possibility. No, I can't believe it's a possibility. One thing I have had happen previously is I've had the nose cone, the probe core back to front, and it actually tries to turn it the wrong way. But maybe it's not that. Another possibility is this joint is a bit too flexible. So that's one possibility. But let's try. Well, extending the nose cone will make it heavier. Okay, let's try active. I'm sorry, Ben. It doesn't look like we're going to get anything to the. Doesn't look like we're going to get anything to the Mun at this rate. Not even this scanner probe. So let's now try these active fins and see if they are able to give us any more control. So let's try this. This is quite interesting in terms of experimentation, but you notice we're really low on the delta V now, so that might prove a problem. Too heavy a vehicle, but we can solve that. Just more boosters, they say. Okay, let's get KOS on. Let's run the initialization script and the ascent script and see how this fares. So we've got a pretty powerful SAS, pretty powerful for this size of vehicle. We have active fins now, which will actually help us steer a little bit better. But I've got a feeling that when this heavy weight lifts over more than 10-15 degrees, it just pulls the nose right down. Well, so far so good. Made it to 6 kilometers. .75 degrees above the horizon. Just watching the controls down here, because when they slide right to one end, I wasn't ready for that. I was so much looking down here at these yaw pitch controls. I wasn't ready for that, but we're done. We are. It looks like we're going to make it a little bit further into space. I think I've got this currently set. This ascent script currently set for quite a high initial orbit. I think I've got it set for 200 kilometers because I thought that would be suitable for setting up a space station in Kerbin orbit, but it'll do perfectly well for our purposes today. Yeah, 250 kilometers. So that's probably way too much for this. We really only want to get up to about 100. So what I'll do is I will kill this script when we get to about that. So it's just staged. So let's abort that because that's plenty. That is plenty. So we've killed that script, and now we need to circularize. So we can do that. We'll do that manually. I do have a script for that, but we'll do it manually for now. So let's add a maneuver. It looks like I should have stuck with the AV8 winglets. That would have been that would have solved everything apparently. So let's get that on the apoapsis, not the periapsis. So there we go, 89 and 81. That will do just fine. So let's get ourselves over onto the node. And what we want to do now is get rid of the shell and start burning away. We're a little bit early, and we are burning through our stage that was supposed to be our transfer stage. So let's hope we can make it. Or this is going to be one very short trip, as they say. So we'll get the panels open just for roleplay's sake, because we don't have remote tech installed, but we will extend our Communitron, so let's extend that. And we will open our scanner when we arrive. So we're about 1/3 through our burn, our circularization burn. Just pop into map mode, see how we're doing. Just about see it very slowly increasing, but we want to make sure we don't lose too much height. So it's looking at the apoapsis here, it's starting to come down, so let's just stay more or less on our prograde marker and try and keep that about 82. So we've got about 1/4 to go. Just about swinging around the edge of the planet now. There we go. Periapsis coming out. Not my most ineccentric, but we do need to save as much delta V as we can. Well, we're in orbit now. 73 and 145. Yeah. Okay, but let's get on to the Mun. We've got about 1/3 of our fuel left in this stage, and then of course we have got this little stage here. So for all of our efforts to save this section, I don't think we're going to manage it. Right. So where is the Mun? So let's go back out to map mode. There we go. There's the Mun. So let's set that as target, and I reckon we need to about here, maybe get a maneuver node just about here, and let's pull out and see how we're going to do. There we are. Pretty good guess, actually. Pretty good guess. So we can see our approach here. I've got conics mode 0 on, so we can see it here. How high is that? 148. So let's go back. So if I go increment of 1 and right click to go back, too much. So let's go 0.1 forward. 258. You can see that down here as well. 238. So let's go. I was going to aim for about. Oh, I said 200, didn't I? So maybe we can go down in smaller increments. 190, too much. There we go, 208, that'll do fine. We'd also like to be going in a... We would also like to make a change to go in a more polar orbit, but we'll do that a little bit later. We'll do that a little bit later when we are out, well, when we're out here somewhere on our orbit. So that's 833 delta V. And that's almost exactly what we have remaining in this lower stage. So it looks like we're going to have a stage flung out into space, and then following this green line. Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, we can always have a garbage collection. We can always have a garbage collection. We can always have a garbage collection mission in some future episode. So let's get ourselves onto the node. We have a 42-second burn in about 25 minutes. So let us go around to the maneuver node. So warp to the maneuver node's handle. Can I click on the handle? There we go. So let's warp round. Just see our craft there. Hello, jar of cookies. Welcome to the live stream. Yes, well, I did rather get my staging mixed up. I did rather have just a little bit too low an amount of delta V. I think the weight of the fairing rather surprised me. So yes, you're right. I probably should have had additional delta V in that middle stage. So yes, thanks. I'll need to remember that for next time. Now we have a 42-second burn, so we want to burn on around about 21 seconds to go. So let's just use time warp to bring us round. We're using the SAS to keep us on that maneuver node. So 1 minute. Just bring down the time warp. And let's burn away. So we've got to burn pretty much this whole stage. And the first part of the delta V doesn't seem to do very much. And then all of a sudden, the last few delta V will get us pretty much, you know, a third to a half of the way to the end of our maneuver. And that's going to be with just like a dribble left in the tank. So let's just bring the thrust down and see how close we can actually get to our target. There we go. Last dribble. I think that was it. So we've got a stage. And I think, yeah, we're just out. So this tank should be active. Activate engines. And there we go, 500. So let's just bring it in just a little bit more. That was way too much. So let's just bring the thrust. Let's bring the thrust limiter down, right down, and just do some little bitty tweaks. So what are we on? 300. There we go. Just some little bitty tweaks, and we were going to go down to about 200. There we go. Just a smidgen over 200. So what I think we will do is we will wait until we are, let's say, at the ascending node, just for somewhere to go to, and then we will make our maneuver just to save a little bit of delta V. See, can we warp to? Let's warp to the AN, the ascending node, because we are just slightly off the plane of the Mun. Can we see our debris? Where's our debris? No, it's just out of shot. Just out of shot. Never mind. So there we go. So let's get a maneuver node here. And what we want to do now is we want to bring, let's just focus on the Mun. What we want to do is we want to orbit in a polar direction. So rather than make that change here, which is going to use up rather a lot of our delta V, we'll make a maneuver out here and see if we can do that. So that's going to bring us that way. So let's now pull into the planet. Oh, wrong way. And down. And in. And down. So that's still about 45 degrees. Is that about 45 degrees? So let's pull that right down and then pull it back in. There we go. That's not so bad. And how much delta V? It's only 81, and we have... Oh, look at that. We've got loads. I think my cheat sheet... well, I say we've got loads. That's just to make this correction. And how far are we? 280. That's not bad. And if we keep pulling... There we go. That's going to come in right underneath the southern pole. It's 254. So let's see if we can pull that in. 222. 190. 205. You can see it down there a little bit easier, actually. There we go. So if we execute that manoeuvre, that should give us coming in under the southern pole, and then we'll just be orbiting in this direction in order for us to take our polar scan. It's not exact, but we'll worry about fiddling with the inclination later. It doesn't have to be exact. And I've just missed the manoeuvre. Oh dear. So let's just shift that manoeuvre on a bit. Come on. It's not going to let me move it. Oh dear. Oh dear. Can you not move a manoeuvre once you've missed it? Oh dear. Well, let's move it on a little bit further this time. Let's add a manoeuvre here. Right, let's try that again. Pull down and pull in. A little bit too far perhaps. 281. And let's pull back just a little. 211. 200. There we go. And almost perfect. We have 16 minutes to the next node, and it's going to be 106 meters per second, and we've got 1,000 delta V apparently. Although I did just think it's a 35-second burn because I've still got the thrust limiter on. So we'll have to worry about that later. Oh look, is that our debris? I think that's our debris up there. Bring ourselves across onto the manoeuvre node, and now let's accelerate to the manoeuvre node. Yep, accelerate. Yep, we're all right. Let's accelerate to the manoeuvre node. I'm wondering actually, 35 seconds, 106 meters. Yeah, that's probably on the cut down engine. Well, we'll soon find out. We will soon find out. The actual time and when you actually do the manoeuvre out here, probably not that important anyway. Not with 1,800 left anyway. So let's execute that manoeuvre. I know we've got 2 minutes, but let's just execute that manoeuvre. Yeah, I thought so. That 35 seconds was with the thrust limiter at 100, not at, I think it's 8 we've got it set to at the moment. Never mind, we will just burn off the necessaries. And we'll just watch this orange line rotate, hopefully through the Mun, not literally through it. It will pop out the other side. So we're about halfway through the burn. Let's trust to the manoeuvre node. I think it's popping out. Yeah, it's definitely coming out. There we go. See it coming out now. We're coming down to the last dribble of the delta V that we need. And there we go. So what do we end up with? 188 and slightly off from the predicted inclination. No matter. No matter, we will tidy that up when we arrive. So let's tidy this up now and get our thrust limit up to maximum and prepare for our arrival. So we can warp to our change of sphere of influence. There's our debris. Oh dear. There's our debris. It does have a probe core on it, hence it looks like a scanner probe, but it isn't. We'll sort that out another day. So there we go. We're about to come into the sphere of influence of the Mun. Here we go. There we are, popped in. So now all we have to do is close in our orbit. So let's add a maneuver node and go fully retro. There we go. So let's go on, this will be on the periapsis. Get that on the periapsis there. Good. And just pull that back until the apoapsis is, well, we're going to do apoapsis of 200. Oops, 500. I can't count. 4, 3, come down to 200, 207, 201. There we go. And then what we'll do is we will sort out our inclination. Not that that's actually strictly necessary. So again, we have 243 delta V, and we have a total of 1,700. So we did have plenty. We did have plenty in the end. So let us warp to about here, which we can do by just clicking on the orbit, right-clicking, and then warping to here. So we can see our probe coming in there on the right. That still gives us 8 minutes to go. So let's right-click. Can we get in there? See if we can. So left-click and warp to here. And then we will get ourselves round ready to make our burn. So let's get onto the maneuver node. There we go. That hasn't got us an estimated burn for this, but what do you reckon? 30 seconds? Well, it estimated 35 when we had 100, so about 60 seconds. So if we go on about, I don't know, 30, 35, let's see how we do. $40. Again, it's probably not vital that we are accurate. We can make any corrections. There's so much for my estimations. Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, there we go. Let's just bring it down. Last little dribble. There we go. So what does that give us? Gives us, look, I didn't even check. Brilliant. Apoapsis of 200. Absolutely perfect. Well, I say perfect. I say perfect because, of course, we've got to correct this side. So let's add a maneuver here. And let's just see what we have to do to get that to 200. There we go. It's about 2.8 meters per second. So that's practically nothing, and we will use the thrust limit method to burn that off. So let us get around to our maneuver node. I can, there we go, warp to maneuver node. See us coming over the top there. And we'll just warp a little bit further because we've got full 3 minutes before we get to apoapsis, and we've only got a tiny dribble to get out. The node is in a minute, so apoapsis is in a minute. There we go. So let us just, we can watch it up here, periapsis height 189. So if we just start burning, 190, 91, 3, 4, 5. And because we are so far away now from apoapsis, oh, look at that, eccentricity. Tiny. I think we'll leave it at that, shall we? Let's leave it at that. That's pretty good. I know we're not quite in an polar orbit, but actually that doesn't matter, because unlike ScanSat, which actually scans in stripes, the stock scanner doesn't. You have to role play how the stock scanner will work. So let's see if we can get out, work out how this darn thing works. Oh, that's quite nice. Should we get that as our screeny, as they say? So let's take ourselves a screeny like so, and we'll get another one like so. Nice little eclipse there to use as our screeny. Right, shall we see if we can work out how this darn thing works? So let's get in here and perform an orbital survey. We are uploading the data. Hopefully we've got enough charge to do so. We do have panels as well. And there we go. We have completed our transmission, and there is our survey. Bright orange. Let's have a look in map view, shall we, and just see how we've done. So let's get the colour system out. We've got what have we got? We've got our resources include we've got surface resources, carbonite, metallic ore. There's our metallic ore, so we can see where ore can be found. So in this large crater here and here. Minerals generally dispersed over the entire surface of the Mun, but again, minerals do seem to be concentrated in this crater. What else? We've got ore. There we go. Ore. Generally not in the craters. So generally ore is not in the craters. Okay, so substrate. Again, substrate seems to follow this same pattern here. Uranite. Lovely green colour around this sort of vertical stripe and in this crater. And finally water. Water seems to be, there seems to be sort of two main areas. There's to be found in this crater, and then this sort of stripe along here. I think carbonite appears to be the only one that isn't. I think carbonite is not in this stripe and not in the craters, so carbonite's the only one. So if we were searching for, let's say we were searching for ore, we would have to avoid the craters. So if we change the cutoff value and look for where it is most concentrated, where is it most bright, we can see up here and in this sort of polar chasm. If we were going for fishing for ore, if we were fishing for carbonite, maybe here would be a good place, and also here. So as an episode to get 3 Kerbals to the Mun, we failed. Sorry, Ben. But as an episode of how to get a survey scanner so that when your 3 Kerbals get to the Mun they have something to mine, it actually worked pretty well, I think. Ooh, another screeny. Should we have another screeny? There we go, just as we go into Eclipse. And let's have another one like so. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching. This has been a very enjoyable hour of failing to get a satellite into orbit, let alone getting it to the Mun with 3 Kerbals in tow. But I'd like to thank Jar of Cookies for watching and commenting, and for everybody else. I'd like to hope you will see me again in my tutorial videos, which are usually Wednesdays, and my Let's Plays, which are usually Saturdays. So I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.